Aliens Explored is a podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a sceptical perspective whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it?
On the 19th of July in 2001, Washington DC hosted the National Press Club event. At this event, Dr. Stephen Greer from the Disclosure Project introduced 20 witnesses, many of which were senior military who discussed their UFO experiences. Join myself and Neil here on Aliens Explored as we talk about the 2001 National Press Club event.
Hello listeners, and welcome back to Aliens Explored, your weekly look at those mysterious things happening in the skies and at the bottom of our oceans, and leaving artifacts and mysterious objects and bits and pieces inside our bodies. Sometimes. Are
you talking about probes now?
Yes, we've got to get onto that, haven't we? I'm one of your hosts, Neil Kelly, with a special interest in anal probes, and
do I edit this out? Oh dear. I'm your other host, Stu Jackson, who's doesn't know whether to laugh or cry.
Stu is contractually obliged to let me do the welcome to every other episode. So yeah, sometimes and it always comes. Even though I'm doing it every other week, it still comes as a surprise to me. And who knows what I'm a bit Trump-like, who knows what might come out of my mouth if just left unscripted.
Oh my goodness! Do you know what? Yes, we ought to do an episode on anal probes at some point. Why not?
I think, we would be remiss if we didn't do it.
Maybe
it's such a big part of alien technology, or ufology, isn't it? The anal probe.
Well, it's perceived to be, and maybe that's what the episode should be about, is about why is it such a big thing in media, in culture,
and perhaps some of our listeners could offer tips on how you should prepare yourself for a possible anal probe.
Let's not go down that route.
What should be part of your daily ablutions in the morning? You shave and shower and
moving swiftly,
lubricate.
Moving very swiftly on. But no, I think one about why it features so heavily in
actually,
culture.
I was thinking little bits of unidentified material that have been planted under people's skin. It was you who mentioned anal probes.
It was. Well, I just said probes,
and the conversation went that way.
Well, if anyone can lower the tone, it's both of us. That's for sure. We should have learnt that by now, the years we've known each other. Oh, my goodness. Well, I have no idea how to segue into today's topic from that.
So, a bunch of arseholes got together in Washington in 2001.
No, they weren't. They're lovely,
for a
lovely
probe.
People. The people who got together in 2001 are not arseholes, let's be clear.
But they were followed by a bunch of arseholes who sought to discredit them in every turn.
Yeah, I'll go with that one. Why not? 2001.
Does this podcast have an age rating on it?
It is for mature listeners because we do drop the odd swear word here and there.
Because it's us.
It's us. Because I know we can. I mean, I've been known to drop the odd F-bomb here and there. So Yeah, so yes, it is for mature listeners. So we're fairly safe, but still, there's got to be limits somewhere. Anyway, yes, we are back again in Washington, D.C., as we were last week. But where last week it was 1952, this is, as you rightly say, 2001, the 9th of May. So 5 days after Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Yes. It is officially Star Wars Day, May the 4th. Did you not know that?
Is it really officially?
Officially, yes.
I don't think it's on my calendar.
Is it not? It should be.
It should be, I know.
It should be now.
But I'm sure amongst all Star Wars aficionados and fans, it's May the 4th is officially Star Wars Day.
Yes. It is. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So this is the National Press Club event organised by the Disclosure Project, which is run by Dr. Stephen Greer, quite a famous ufologist, although originally a trauma doctor.
He's come up before a few times, hasn't he, in our discussions, Dr. Stephen Greer. And he's made a few movies, one of which, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, is certainly available to watch in the UK on Amazon Prime without paying anything more than your Amazon Prime subscription. I know Amazon has this thing that, you have to pay extra for loads of stuff, but you don't. And he's got a new series now out on Gaia. Is it Gaia? Gaia. Gaia. Which you have to pay extra to watch, but you can watch Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, definitely a mover and shaker in the ufology circle. And at this event, you got 20 witnesses, most of whom were military, so credible witnesses, talking about various UFO sightings. And
as an ex-military man, I don't necessarily associate military with credible.
Well, I think we're talking fairly senior military people.
Well, I think a better word would be unimaginative and not.
Well, that, I mean,
they're not going to entertain
that. We're laughing at that, but that adds to it them being a credible witness.
That they don't have the capacity for
that lack
fabricating
of imagination.
that.
Yeah, that adds to credibility, surely.
Whereas you and I, who are renowned for our wild imaginations, lack any kind of credibility.
No, I'm not saying that people with imaginations don't have credibility. What I'm saying is that when reporting an event like this, someone with a lack of imagination, I don't know, just maybe has the edge or...
Well, I once told someone I was an actor, and they said, "Oh, so you lie for a living then?"
I've literally had that when I've been speed dating.
Have you?
I used to go speed dating a lot before I met my current partner.
But Catherine, you lie to reveal the greater truth. That's,
Well, that's it. You don't. No, I would say you don't lie because, or if you're a good actor, you are telling the truth of the story. You're telling the truth of the character that you are embodying at that moment. But I did have that folded arms. Oh, so you're good at lying then?
Well, it's a phenomenon amongst certain men, and it is men. I've never encountered it with women. It's that fiction is a lie. And what's the point of reading fiction? Because some bloke just made all this up. And what's the point? I would much rather read the badly ghostwritten biography of some cricketer or whatever, because it's true.
The only time I have encountered that attitude is from women. I've never encountered that from a man.
Wow. I thought it was a male trait that, I can't enjoy this play because all I can see is a bunch of guys on a stage acting. I can't get into it. I can't suspend disbelief.
I think that's just a human condition. It just so happens that you've only met men who present it, and I've only happened to meet women who present it.
Well, so you're definitely was when the person said you lie for a living, was that a woman?
That was a woman, because at speed dating, I personally go for speed dating where I'm talking to women. It was the face darkened, the arms folded, and I think that was someone who perhaps had negative experience with someone lying in a relationship.
Speed dating, by that stage, the only thing you would have lied to her about would have been your name.
Well, no, because you use your name.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I had a sticker.
Well, I know it's conventional. I was thinking you personally.
No, I think this was just someone who was perhaps. I don't want to use a negative term, but someone who, had a traumatic event with somebody lying. I'll say that. But yeah, no, I mean, the other questions I've been brilliant. Like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an actor. Oh yeah, how much money do you earn?
Really?
Like, fucking what?
No, I've had. So have you been in anything? Anything I might have heard of. I think that's the most common.
I don't know. You list all the things you've heard of over the last 30 years. Yeah. Oh dear. Have you thought about doing a soap? That's the other. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. So, national president. So, okay, I asked you this question about the event last week. I'm going to ask you about this one. Had you heard about this event?
No.
And it makes you wonder why. This was a press club event. That's a once-a-year event. And all the press are there, and you've got all these 20 people, senior military people, talking about UFO events and a lot of whistle blowing going on, all that kind of thing. Why had you not heard about it? That's strange.
Maybe it's just not as widely known as a ufologist like yourself would believe, because to you it's everyone knows about this, but maybe it's less well known than you realise. Maybe all sorts of things are less well known than you realise.
But the press club itself, the National Press Club, is outside of ufology. This is like the national press.
Oh well, yeah.
I mean, national for the US, obviously.
National Press Club Conference. Yeah, I've heard of that. But I wasn't aware of Stephen Greer taking the lectern to talk about what's been going on with his disclosure project, which he'd founded 8 years previously.
I don't know. Again, this is a really big event. Looking at who they had talking. Yeah.
So Stephen Greer, he had prepared. There were some 20 speakers there. He had provided, in support of his claims, a 492-page dossier called the Disclosure Project Briefing Document, and for public officials too busy to absorb it. That much, such a vast track.
Too long, didn't read.
Yeah, he'd prepared a 95-page executive summary of the Disclosure Project Briefing Document, and then within that there was an executive summary, which begins. Well, the executive summary would begin with a brief summary, which was just a series of bullet points.
Yes,
which he said outlined what amounted to the greatest secret in human history.
I'd go with that. Would you not?
Not as wholeheartedly as you. No, I don't know. It's I'm not at all sure that there's all sorts of stuff, encounters with extraterrestrials that the military know about and are keeping from us. I seriously doubt the military's ability to keep the lid on that much information.
That's very interesting. So in nearly 70 episodes, I think well, we've both learnt an awful lot, but I think, like you in particular, you've come a long way from the person who thought it was all nonsense when we started.
I have my day. I think I blow hot and cold.
Well, is it fair to say that now, though, you're fairly accepting of the likelihood of extraterrestrial visitation?
I'm fairly well. I know there are a lot of things in our skies that can't be explained. That I know that there are billions of planets out there in the galaxy, in the universe, many of which are likely to have some form of life which is more evolved than us.
Yeah. Well, the Drake equation tells us
the Drake
that,
equation.
Yeah.
My own belief in multiple dimensions, well, that's just basic quantum physics. That I understand that our world is made up of atoms, and atoms are largely empty space. So all we really are, our reality is really just energy operating at a low vibration, vibrating at a low intensity, and that you could have another. You change channels, and or you get interference, and you suddenly got interference from another dimension. I think that's how ghosts appear. That you actually see into another dimension. I know that time actually. Well, Stephen Hawking posited that time isn't actually linear, and that all this is happening at once in different dimensions, that we move through dimensions, and our brains can only understand what's going on as a kind of linear process. So the reason that you would find a house is haunted is because the vibrations are being interfered with there. There's another channel, interrupting it, like on an AM radio. When you drive out of town, you start to lose signal and start to pick up another one. That sort of thing. That's how you get ghosts and hobgoblins and things. And probably, what's more likely to cause an interruption to the vibrations that make up our reality, the energy vibrations, than setting off a nuclear weapon. So could that be why you're suddenly seeing into getting things from other dimensions where you've exactly where you've tested H-bombs?
Okay, so is that a yes to you believe in otherworldly visitation?
It's a yes to habitations on other planets. It's a yes to other dimensions which we pass through. Actually, I'm thinking of starting a religious cult. So I'm thinking, if all we're doing is moving through dimensions and it's not linear, that means we never die. So, when you die, you probably died several. You just pick things up in a new dimension.
Okay.
Get born again and have a different version of your life. Maybe, hopefully, a better one. Maybe a worse one. Maybe we are all one, and eventually you will experience, or you are experiencing, every single human life that's ever been.
So you're listening to the dawning of the cult of Neil.
Yeah, the dawning of a new religion. There will be a lot of obviously a lot of group sex involved at our meetings.
Well, I like the
why else are you gonna, and people have to give me a lot of money.
I like the quote from Creed Bratton in the US office, The Office series, where he says cults are great. He said, you make more money as a leader, but you have more fun as a follower. Anyway, so that's So if is your major issue then with the whole issue with this? Is it more that you just don't believe that the governments are aware and monitoring and controlling contact?
Really?
Is that the issue?
The likes of Donald Trump or Boris Johnson keeping their mouth shut over this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but they wouldn't know. This would be subcommittees and subdivision. I mean, the movie Independence Day sort of nailed it on the head when the president sort of turns up at Area 51 and says, "Why was I not told about this?" And the guy just turns around and says, "Plausible deniability." It's like, well, how did you hide the cost of it? and the guy says, you really don't think that a hammer costs $300, surely? Yeah, and I think they absolutely hit the nail on the head with that bit. It was there as a bit of amusing dialogue, but I think there was more
probably
truth in that.
A greater truth, the most interesting part of the movie.
So
this is how we keep it hidden.
I believe in government awareness and control. Whether it's presidential, that's a different matter.
But when you start believing in these conspiracies and these secret cabals, you're then within hailing distances of people who believe that there's a secret cabal of Satan worshipping paedophiles who are out to who are out to take over the world, and only Donald Trump can stop them.
And the lizard people.
The lizard people, all that sort of thing.
Well,
sorry, I still haven't got over that cold. That it's still coming on.
it's
That
yes,
cold that was
yes.
coming on last week. It's still coming on this week.
It is a little, but
So
yeah,
that's what
hopefully you'll
I'm
feel
skeptical.
better soon.
I can't think that I've seen any evidence of reverse engineered extraterrestrial technology.
I'm going to strongly start refuting that by saying we've all got smartphones. Fiber optic communication is something we accept on a daily basis. I mean, I believe that the whole Silicon Revolution is reverse engineered from UFOs. I mean, looking at the timing of it and how these things have been drip fed out, and we're talking about liquid crystal display screens, touch screen technology, all this kind of thing. I think it's all come from reverse engineered technology. And aircraft development is another big thing. Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I've seen, you watch aircraft development and it's followed a fairly plodding linear path. Obviously, it accelerates in wartime because suddenly budgets are unlimited. And also all sorts of crazy ideas will be entertained in wartime if they think they can get an advantage. Have you ever watched or read The Men Who Stare at Goats?
I've neither watched nor read it. However, I am very familiar with it. Yes.
Okay, I mean, it's basically the idea that someone in the US government said, all this stuff about psychics and being able to distance, from a continent away, you can pick up what someone's writing on a piece of remote viewing, all that kind of thing. They said, well, what if it's true? Mm-hmm. What if it isn't just hokum? What if it's actually true? And the Soviets are getting an advantage on us. They're developing their psychics and turning it to a military advantage. So, of course, then they then had to spend millions of dollars exploring it, because the possibility that's what happens when you're in. That's what conflict does. It allows.
Okay, and I'm going to say, look at the timing of that. That came out just after, or that happened very shortly after the crashes at Roswell, or not at Roswell, but the UFO crashes relating to Roswell, when they discovered bodies and allegedly live aliens, live extraterrestrials who communicated telepathically. Allegedly. And yeah, I mean, I'm yes, I agree on the allegedly bit, but shortly after, suddenly the government's ploughing in a load of money into looking at, communicating telepathically and looking at psionic abilities. The timing of it, I mean, and, when I talk about aircraft, I'm not talking about sort of jet technology or anything like that, although that possibly, I'm looking more at things like stealth technology, which seemed to come out of nowhere.
I'm not sure it did. I think ever since radar had been able to track aircraft, people had looked for ways to make their aircraft invisible to radar. Yes. And it turns out you paint them with a special paint and you make them a certain shape to reduce their.
But where did those ideas come from, and particularly the paint? Anyway, that's a whole other thing. We're talking about the National Press Club event.
Yeah. Now, I particularly want to talk about Stephen Greer, who believes that there will be this, like a lot of ufologists, believes there will be this great disclosure. But when Trump started talking about Space Force, I assumed, because he didn't say anything else, that it was for America, the USA, to have military supremacy in orbit, in space, that space weapons, but specifically an advantage over the Russians or I think the Chinese are the main enemy now, but it would give them a military superiority over terrestrial enemies. Mm-hmm. But Stephen Greer seems to believe that this is part of a much bigger conspiracy, that Space Force is about developing a global force to fight extraterrestrials,
Yes.
which will justify a world government, because now we've got to protect, not just defend our country, we've got to defend the whole world from an extraterrestrial force. So therefore, sorry, we need to take over the government of your country.
Yes.
So that's a very sinister plot.
And you look at the Star Wars project under Reagan, and the same thing.
Yeah, but they were very much about using space technology to prevent an attack from a terrestrial enemy. Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, the Star Wars, was about satellite weapons which would be able to shoot down Soviet missiles on their way to the United States. I think Donald Trump was specifically talking about gaining supremacy. He didn't say specifically, he just said America must be supreme in space.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to. If we're talking about extraterrestrials, these beings that have developed intergalactic, interstellar travel or interdimensional travel, they have craft that can fly into the most heavily defended airspace with total impunity. Mm-hmm. Really? We're going to defend ourselves against them? We're getting ready for a war with them?
Well, if we've got crashed vessels that we can then reverse engineer, that we can then study, then yes, we can start looking at developing defences against it. And it might take 30 years for you to start to come up with something like Star Wars. And I'm saying like 30 years after the Roswell incident. You can start to look at defences. I mean, I believe Space Force and the Star Wars under Reagan, both part of the same, let's look at defending ourselves from potential invasion. Absolutely. Now, I also think that the chances of these beings from other worlds being aggressive and wanting to invade is as close to zero as it gets, because we're still walking around free. We've not been subjugated or destroyed, and they would be so technologically advanced that if that's what they wanted to do, they would have done it by now.
Or they could do it if they decided to.
So the fact that they haven't means that's not their agenda. That's not their intention. I'm confident of that, but I also know, particularly the likes of Donald Trump and senior government people are bloody paranoid. They look at, well, if they did decide to, how could we? We wouldn't stand a chance. So let's develop some. Let's spend billions of dollars, like finding an aggressive way of responding if they ever did this thing that they're never going to do.
Or I think more mundane. Someone who's a big Trump donor from the arms industry says, I want a nice fat contract to develop space weapons. And Donald Trump says, right, okay, that's new policy.
Yeah. I won't dispute that one.
That's how politics works, isn't it? That's how lobbying works. It's our wars and our weapons development are very much funded by lobbyists for the arms industry. It's what Eisenhower warned about on his way out the door. He didn't say it when he was actually president, but on his way out the door. So, watch out for the military-industrial complex, i.e. the corporate takeover of government.
Yes. So back on to the National Press Club event, because we're coming towards the end of this episode. Yes. There is one. So most of the speakers were talking about UFO sightings. You were having like military pilots talking about, well, I saw this and this is what appeared on the radar and this is like how fast it shot away. So the bulk of the 20 people who spoke were of that nature, but there's one in particular that really stood out to me. A guy by the name of Clifford Stone. Now, this is a retired army sergeant who said, he stood at this lectern and he's saying quite candidly that he personally had seen aliens, both dead aliens and alive aliens. He said that he himself was aware that there were 57 species, including 3 different types of grey alien, what we consider the grey alien, that there were 3 different types. Some of them, however, look exactly like us, and some of them are walking around amongst us today. Now, he's saying this very candidly, very clearly. That's got to be breaking news, surely.
Well, I always thought, when I watched Star Trek as a kid back in the 1960s, that how many aliens actually look like us. I thought, well, that later,
One head,
well, yeah,
2 arms, 2 legs.
Yeah, well, actually, that's a big saving in the makeup and prosthetics department, isn't it?
It is.
Like us, isn't it?
But there's two other sort of ways of looking at it. One is what I believe is called Convergent Evolution, where basically, if there is one physical form that is more efficient than any others, like regardless of planet, regardless of it basically, if you're not underwater, if you're on land, then this shape, this form is, evolutionary speaking, the most logical. But then there's also the other belief, and we've talked about this in a previous episode, about the idea of basically panspermia, and we have been we are aliens, effectively. We have come from an alien source. So even though our environment may shape and guide the way we look to a degree, the basic format remains the same. So like computers, whether you've got an Apple Mac or a Windows laptop or whatever, the computers themselves may vary wildly, but the basic idea of how a computer works remains the same across all of them. You have your RAM, you have your processor, you have your memory, all the rest of it. Kind of the same with humanoid beings. And also there is the idea that maybe some of them are us in the future that have evolved beyond. Some people even claim that beyond that we have been transplanted as human beings, as Homo sapiens, from another planet, and that's why you get the missing link. So there are many potential explanations as to why that would be. And if there's 57 out there, who's to say they're all humanoid? There was nothing you said about that, other than, there's these 3 types of greys which are humanoid, and some look almost exactly like us. Obviously, they would be humanoid, but that's 4 out of 57. Who's to say that the other 53 aren't wildly different?
Well, I suppose if extraterrestrials arrived on this planet millions of years ago and were looking for which being should we give should we breed in an enhanced mental capacity so that they can develop a civilization, they're going to look at Homo erectus, aren't they? They're not going to look at a tiger or something and think, well, yeah, we can give this thing a big brain. So Homo erectus, even though he's not top of the food chain, he's the right shape to be able to use what faculties he has. That would, and it is a mystery how come, Homo, apparently, I mean, there's evidence that Homo erectus coexisted with Homo sapiens. I think Homo sapiens used to hunt them, but they were completely wiped out. Even the most remote lost tribe in the darkest jungles of Papua New Guinea or the Amazon, they're Homo sapiens. They're not. There's no Homo erectus left. Anywhere, unless it's maybe
that we've ever found.
That we've ever found, unless you're going to speculate about Bigfoot or the wild man of Borneo or
that's. I wouldn't like to rule those things out.
Let's not rule anything out.
Absolutely, we like to
keep the conversation
open mind here.
You're not going to shut me down.
So anyway, did you? We're coming to the end of this week's show. But did you watch? Were you able to watch the press club event?
I saw some of it.
Yeah. It is, for our listeners' benefit, it is available on YouTube. You can watch the entire thing by searching 2001 National Press Club event, and it's on Dr. Stephen Greer's channel. It's just under the 2-hour mark, so it's quite a lengthy watch, but well worth sitting through and absorbing the whole thing. In fact, do you know what? I'm even going to stick a link to it in the description.
There we go.
So you can
That's what we're
watch
here
it
for
yourselves. And once you have watched it, do write in and tell us what you think of it. Are these people just deranged maniacs making it all up, or are they absolutely genuine and credible witnesses, or a mixture. Let us know at the usual places. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter by searching Aliens Explored. You can email us directly at aliensexplored@gmail.com. We do love to hear from our listeners. So do get in touch. And join us next time. When speaking about humanoid aliens, next time we are going to be looking at another video, this time an allegedly leaked Russian video of an alien grey known as Skinny Bob. So we'll be looking into
Skinny
that.
So are we doing anal probes after that?
We will. I will look at our planet ahead and see if we can insert an anal probe somewhere. Oh dear me!
And top tips for preparing for an anal probe.
No. Anyway,
should
no.
In the course of your day. It's like when you get up in the morning, you got to think, well, I'm not going to wear this ratty old underwear anymore because I might get run over, and then everyone in the emergency room will see.
Abducted.
So what if I get abducted? Go, make sure you're wearing nice underwear that you're and prepare yourself.
I would say don't wear your nice underwear because it might get destroyed.
I would say, as a general policy, wear nice underwear. That's my top tip.
Okay, that's your
as a general policy.
That's the rule you live to in life.
Yeah. Stained and full of holes, throw it away. Otherwise, it will shame you one day.
Speaking of shaming, oh my goodness, this podcast has gone a strange way. Anyway, in the meantime, until next week, keep watching those press club conferences and the skies. I can't even speak properly, Neil. You destroyed me. Anyway, bye for now.
Bye everyone. Bye Dawn. Bye Marcus. Bye Barry.
Aliens Explored is a Figo Films production in association with Juicy Falls. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored or visit aliensexplored.com.